This is TWiT.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Moving on to Christian in San Diego. Hi, Christian.
Hello?
Hey, welcome to the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I work for a small accounting company, and I'm helping out with installing some new computers.
Oh, you got the job, huh?
Yeah.
They don't. Now, wait a minute. How small is this accounting company? They don't have an IT department?
No, we're just about 9 people, part-time and full-time.
Best thing I ever did in our small company is hire a contract IT guy who turned out to be a genius. I think we lucked out. We got the best guy I've ever seen. But boy, it makes a difference. Yeah, it's okay. You're going to do a good job. You're the contract IT guy now.
Well, I'm always bragging that I listen to Leo Laporte.
That's it, huh? That was your qualifying resume. All right. Well, let's get you going. What do you need to know?
So I'm in the process of transferring all the data from the current computers that we have, and we're using Google Drive. And I don't know if
so you have a fiduciary responsibility as an accounting firm to your clients, to secure their data. You have I don't know, I'm sure you have a legal obligation. You also have just a moral obligation, because you have some very private stuff like tax returns, including social security numbers, business finance numbers. You have a lot of stuff that your clients fully expect you to protect. Google Drive is not the answer.
Right. So I finally convinced my boss to move to a better product, maybe Carbonite.
Carbonite is a very good choice. Now, they're an advertiser, but they do have plans. In fact, they have, for instance, a data migration plan that would solve this whole issue for you, and they would do it with strong encryption and, of course, compliant with any federal regulations. I am not up on whatever federal regs there are about accounting, but I bet you that there are some serious privacy requirements, and you don't want to, maybe state and federal, and you don't want to get in trouble here. And it's just the right thing to do. So, yeah, you're going to be looking for business solutions that offer encryption, and they want 2 kinds of encryption. You want encryption in transit. That's pretty easy to do. Almost, if you're surfing the web and you go to your bank or you go to Amazon, that's encrypted in transit. That's a well understood system, and that's pretty easy to do. You also want encryption in place. You want to make sure that those keys are well controlled. Ideally, you'd like to use a system where only you have the decryption key, they don't, so that you keep tight control of your client's privacy there. You also really want to lock down your systems in the office. I don't want to talk you out of a job, but this really is a case where the problem is finding somebody really good, but a good IT professional, among other things. Do you have any, when you connect to the internet, do you have any security appliances in between you and the outside world?
We do. We have a firewall. But as far as our backup, we were using Google, and I wasn't really comfortable with it. So I finally, like I said, I finally convinced my boss, hey, we have to move to something more. Yeah. I mean, Google
probably provides some encryption. I don't know of any exploits, any exfiltration of information from Google, but I think even Google themselves will say, we're not intended for use in situations like medical information or accounting information. I think that's probably...
We like the user-friendliness of Google.
Yeah.
Would Carbonite be similar to Google?
Well, for you it would be, I mean, do you also have to share, for instance, clients send you data, right?
Yes.
Are you having them just put it on Google Drive and sharing that document with you?
No, unfortunately, still doing it through email.
They're emailing. It's even worse.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you're going to want to look at is a system. Microsoft. Are you a Microsoft shop, or whose software do you use?
Yes, we're using Microsoft. We just purchased some new computers, so I finally convinced our boss to get some hardware.
This might be an occasion to take a look at what Microsoft offers, because they do have good business solutions. And I'm not just talking about backup, but file sharing, collaboration.
Okay, so would OneDrive be pretty safe?
You don't want to use you'll use something like OneDrive, but it won't be OneDrive. It'll be SharePoint and things like that. You want to use their business class, not their this is the problem. And your boss and you and everybody have experience with consumer grade applications, but in this application at this time you need to use something that's designed for business grade security because of your clients. If you were a grocery store, I wouldn't worry so much, although and then you might have credit card numbers.
Yeah.
But you have some just think Social Security numbers alone, EINs, employee ID numbers, things like that. Those things need to be kept absolutely secure, and you have a very high responsibility to do that to your clients. So I would what you can do, I know cost is a concern here, but what you can do is I would call Microsoft and say, tell them what you need and say, what do you have that can take care of this? There'll be solutions that are encrypted, that are safe. Carbonite is basically about some of what you need. For instance, the data migration part, the backup part. They certainly have data protection things, but they're not so much about collaboration. So, for instance, if you have two accountants working on the same returns, they're collaborating. Those should not be stored on Google Drive. They should be stored on SharePoint and some higher end Microsoft solutions. OneDrive, is the consumer brand name for what you'll be using. But you'll be using Azure servers.
Okay.
And I think a call to Microsoft would probably be the best bet here. Call a Microsoft's business consultant, and that's what these guys do. They won't charge you a lot, but the costs of these services, may put them out of your reach. I don't know. But you get what you pay for, and the free services you're getting or the inexpensive if you're getting G Suite services from Google, I don't know if they're adequate really to do what you need to do.
That makes sense.
You got a little homework ahead of you, I'm sorry to say. And I am not an expert. I want to be the first to say I'm not an expert in this. But
at least now I can download the podcast and
This is good for you, though. You know what? You're gonna, in a way, this is an opportunity for you because these skills that you're going to learn here and getting this set up right is very valuable.
Okay, so can I ask one final question?
Sure.
Should I even start the process of turning on the computers and setting them up and downloading the software that we normally use, and then
if you have time, if you have just a day, like Monday, go into the office on Monday and just call around. Every company like Microsoft and Salesforce, all these companies, even Google, have salespeople who act as consultants who will help you for free, help you figure out what you need to do. They'll answer this question really at a higher level than I'm going to answer it. You'll have to understand they're going to be pitching you on their products, so there's a little sales involved as well. But the information they've got there, and by the way, you can today you can go look at Carbonite.com and see if, for instance, the data migration services they offer would be valuable. You also want to look at things like, Carbonite, for instance. You do a lot of tax returns. Is your busy season April?
Starting January.
Starts now, yeah. You couldn't afford to be down for 5 days because a lightning strike hit your building and knocked out all the servers. So that's the kind of thing that companies like Carbonite are specialists in. We call them data protection companies. They're there to provide you with a service that if the worst happened, if the building burnt down, that you would get back to work immediately. And that's going to be important come April 1st when you've got 2 weeks. That's going to be a big issue. So all of these things.
Everybody has standalone computers. We usually just back up our tax.
Yeah, if you're doing stuff locally, you're good. Yeah, locally is fine, except that if something happens to the office. That's not so good. So ultimately, you do need to look at cloud. But if you're doing cloud, you need to do it securely, because as soon as you put your client's information out there, it's vulnerable. I think Carbonite is, I know they're a sponsor, and another disclaimer, but I think they are a very good place to start, at least for your backup, perhaps your migration solutions. And they have hybrid solutions might be just right for you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I mean, you could cobble together, you know, I use TRESORIT, T-R-E-S-O-R-I-T, which is an encrypted backup solution. There's Spider Oak. But these are all consumer-grade things. I think you need something a little bit more heavy-duty. Is the boss saying, you know, we can't spend any money on this? Or
That's the thing. He wants to keep it as low budget as possible.
Yeah, of course he does. I don't blame him.
And we were just using consumer-grade stuff, and so I was kind of worried since, you know, the responsibility came my way. Hey, can you set these up? I thought, oh, no.
I know.
Here's a good chance.
I know. Do you guys pay for Google's app stuff, the G Suite stuff, or do you don't just use...
just the consumer. We just upgraded our storage to like the basic 100 gigabyte.
Well, I mean, I do think Google does a good job of security. And they do encryption and all of that. You know, this is what I would do this weekend, is find out what regulations you're subject to in terms of privacy and security. Because then you can go to the boss and say, look, boss, you know, I don't know what it is, but it's in the medical business, it's HIPAA. You can say, you know, we need a HIPAA compliant solution. So find out what the compliance standards are for what you guys do. And then you can say to Google, look, we need to meet these requirements. Do you do this? Google does do, you know, both in-transit and in-place encryption. I'll tell you what worries me about Google Drive. When you share a file, for instance, on Google Drive, we've learned, because a journalist found out, Google scans the data in there, because she shared a file and it got blocked by Google for violating standards, which is interesting because that's supposed to be a private document I'm sharing privately. How did Google know that? It turned out to be an error. But what that told us was Google is accessing the contents of people's files.
Oh, okay.
So that worries me quite a bit. So, you know, I'm looking at the Google security policies, and they look good. But if you're not even using the business version, if you're using the consumer, I just don't know. Google does encrypt all data in transit, which is very good. But for instance, Google Drive is not HIPAA compliant. That's the privacy regulations for medical records. That, if something's not HIPAA compliant, then it's not good enough for you, would be my...
That makes sense.
Yeah, your data needs to be as secure as patient records.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's the biggest concern.
Yeah. So I wonder, accounting, privacy, regulation.
And we don't have a server or anything like that. We would just have standalone computers, so I was hoping to find something where, you know, we can avoid having to spend money into having a server. And
yeah, I mean, a server is fine, but it's local, so you do have to have off-site, right?
Yes.
And so off-site then is immediately, you know, triggers that, oh, we gotta be compliant with whatever it is, Graham-Leach-Bliley or whatever it is. There are financial institutions have some very strict rules. So I just don't know what exact rules your industry is subject to, but I would find out.
Okay.
The fact that it's not, that Google Drive is not HIPAA compliant, to me,
that's a big red flag.
That's a big red flag.